Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Cordon, the place where every cricketer wants to be. I'm your host, Callum Dunk, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode. What a result for India in this particular game. I was certainly worried when the teams were announced and Jasprit Bumrah was rested, but India have played this situation perfectly. They backed themselves in to win this game and be 1-1 going to Lords. So it's a huge achievement for this team. Some absolutely tremendous performances from the Indian side, but there were a couple of players from England who really stepped up and showed their class. So let's talk about that now. I thought the decision to win the toss and bowl first was not a particularly surprising one from Ben Stokes. We've seen him do this time and time again under the Bazball era. But I do think that the Edgbaston wicket is pretty flat. It's always been flat. And I certainly think that being able to bat first and bat really big is a huge advantage for India. And I don't know whether this is going to change their train of thought going into Lords. And we've seen a lot of people at Lords tend to bowl first because the wicket gets better and better to bat on. But there was enough deterioration in this wicket because India were able to bat for a long period of the game. And I think it was such a critical part of this game. And we'll look at some of the performances at the moment. But I do think that Ben Stokes got this one wrong. I think if they were able to bat first, and particularly with the confidence of the previous game, going out, setting a total, and I think it makes it really unfair on Shoaib Bashir, the spinner. You're asking a lot of your 21-year-old spinner to bowl on the first day time and time again. And is this really developing his skills as a test cricketer? I wouldn't say so. And there's been a lot of talk about Shoaib Bashir's place in the side. And I think for a 21-year-old, he's doing a fantastic job. Sure, they could go back to Jack Leach, but I think Shoaib Bashir will bowl quite well in Australia, considering how tall he is. He gets a lot of overspin on the ball. We've seen him been able to play 18 Test matches now. So I do think that's a little bit unfair for the captain to ask of a young spinner so consistently. And it doesn't make it easier if they drop him and go to county cricket because the counties are all self-serving and just want to do what's best for them, not the actual development of England cricket. So, yeah, interesting choice at the toss. But India, they were able to capitalise on this decision. And Shubman Gill, I was hesitant when they decided to name him captain of this team, considering he was dropped in Australia, and I think pretty harshly dropped in Australia too, so we'll keep that in mind. But I was not expecting this from him. 100 in the first test, 269 here in the first innings, and then 161. It is the most ever runs scored by a captain in a single game. And I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe after 2 test matches of proper captaincy, he has the most runs ever. And this takes him ahead of Virat Kohli as well. So that's a nice record for Shubman Gill to have. I love the way that Shubman was able to sort of go through the gears throughout his 2 innings in this game. He was able to soak up pressure when it required, but he was also able to really up the tempo when they were looking for a declaration. Some will argue that Gill probably batted a fraction too long on day 4, but I don't see that as an issue considering India were able to go on and win the game. If it was a draw, yes, we'd be questioning that decision massively, considering the weather that was around on day 5. But if we're looking at his batting, this kid's got some serious ticker about him. I remember when he first came to Australia, Boxing Day, got a 45, looked good, made a 91 at the Gabba as India chased 328 to win back-to-back series here. Look, he's gone through ups and downs throughout his career, early part of his career, but as I believe, 24, 25-year-old now, he's got serious talent. The sky's ahead of him, and captaincy goes one of two ways. It really forces you to stand up, or it puts a burden on your shoulder. And this captaincy call from the Indian Cricket Board has really forced Shubman Gill to stand up, and he's bringing his teammates along with him. So there's been some other fantastic performances from India in this game as well. I want to start with the bowlers. I thought Akash Deep was sensational in this game, and I was really glad that he was given an opportunity. I thought he would have played ahead of Krishna in the first Test match, and I was very surprised that he didn't play the first game, but he showed his worth with 10 wickets and six wickets in the fourth innings to obviously sew up this game, and good high quality dismissals too. Lots of nicks to the slip Cordon, challenging the defence, getting through the gate between bat and pad. He's aggressive. He bowls with good pace. I remember watching him on his Test debut in, I believe, the fourth Test match when these two sides last met in India, and I thought this kid had something serious about him. He didn't take bags of wickets when he came out to Australia, but I certainly liked what he could offer, and he's definitely in the best three quicks in the country, in my opinion, and he'll certainly hold his place at Lords, and I would certainly expect that he plays the rest of the series, to be perfectly honest, considering the performance that he delivered. And Mohammed Siraj really stood up in this game as well. 6 wickets in the first innings. Obviously, India had a first big innings total, but we saw that the bowling in the last game, apart from Jasprit Bumrah, was the thing that really let England down. And he bowled with good pace. He bowled with good aggression. And we've seen that Mohammed Siraj is someone who genuinely loves the responsibility of leading this attack. And I remember, once again, the Brisbane Test match that India won here at the Gabba. He was in his third Test match and leading a group of quicks who I think only had about 5 tests between them. So it showed leadership qualities without Bumrah there. And, I think Siraj has probably underperformed overall the last sort of 2 years. I think he's better than what he showed. I think when he first sort of came in under the captaincy of Virat Kohli, I remember the way that he bowled at Lords in 2021 to dismiss England on the last day, and he seriously had something about him that day, the pace, the aggression. I've always rated Siraj, but I always thought that he was a bit inconsistent, and I think we don't notice him as much sometimes due to the high quality of Jasprit Bumrah. And it was really great to see Siraj get some reward for effort because he does do a lot of hard work, bowls long spells. Other contributions for the game, Jaswal, 87 on the first day. There was a little bit in the wicket. You expect the first morning of a Test match there's going to be something in it for the bowlers, but he was able to bat really well for 87. Jadeja, 89 and 69. So 2 very valuable innings. Obviously, the 89 in the first innings was really able to set up the game for India, and in partnership with Shubman Gill, obviously very, very valuable runs. I'm surprised he hasn't dominated as much with the ball in this series. Particularly in the last Test match on that last day. Bit critical of him. I thought he could have done a little bit more on that last day, but his contributions with the bat are just something very valuable to this team. The amount of times that he's got them out of trouble when they've been batting in India in particular, and the low order runs that he can score just proves what a rock star he is, as named by the great Shane Warne. And KL Rahul, 55, looked pretty average in the first innings, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I rate KL Rahul very highly. The fact he was able to respond with 55 and he was very patient at points. He's got a very good looking cover drive, and I said this in the first game, the video from the first game, that he's probably one of the most stylish looking players in world cricket at the moment, and Shubman Gill certainly in that conversation as well. But when KL Rahul is in, top form, there's not too many better players to watch from a technical point of view in world cricket. So Rishabh Pant, a 60 odd in the second innings for India, once again pushing the agenda, getting quick runs, and obviously putting pressure on. Let's talk about England now. Not as many good performances in this particular game. Top order didn't really do anything. But there were two really outstanding performances, and that was Harry Brook, who made 100 and a 100 in quick time as well. 99 in the first game. So Harry Brook is a high quality player, and as an Australian, I'm concerned about how our bowling attack might bowl to him at certain times throughout the series that's ahead of us. So, he's got a lot of talent. He can go through the gears very well. He's just a great player to watch. And Jamie Smith, I picked Jamie Smith as the top run scorer for England in this series, and that selection's looking pretty good at the moment. I know Ben Duckett made some runs in the first game, but 184 not out, and 100 in a session. That's a pretty serious player that we've got here. And I know there was a lot of conjecture at the time that he got picked, whether he should be picked for his keeping ability, considering that Ben Folkes, I should say, is the one that keeps at Surrey. But Jamie Smith, every time he's had an opportunity to stand up, he's certainly been able to play the role well. I think he's going to bat really well in Australia. I really like him as a prospect. 25-year-old, keeps well, can go through the gears. And I thought the way that he was able to pull through the leg side and play shots over cow corner was great to watch. And even on the last day, where England were no chance of winning the game, for him to come out, still play his shots, look aggressive, to follow on from that first innings of his, England have a serious player on their hands, and what he's been able to achieve so far has been outstanding. I thought the bowlers overall for England were quite poor. I thought Chris Woakes on the first day couldn't have done much more. Got some very harsh LBW sort of decisions go against him with the DRS and the umpire's call. But yeah, Chris Woakes, I was critical of him in the first test. I thought he stood up pretty well. Tongue wasn't as dominant in this particular game. And, I think England will certainly look to change their bowling attack. How much they look to change their bowling attack is a question that we'll probably save for a little bit later in the video. But yeah, Cass look good at points, but I think overall he's not a first choice frontline seamer in Test cricket, and that's no disrespect to Bryden Cass. I think there's just other bowlers ahead of him in the England setup. Obviously, there's a number of injuries to the England bowling attack at the moment, the fast bowlers, but going forward, I don't see him playing a lot of Test cricket for England. I thought he has bowled well at points, but I think he's a good handy backup option to have. If we look ahead to Lords, now team selection is something that I think is going to be very interesting for this game. I think that Kurunaya will get another opportunity for India, but I do think this is his last chance. If he doesn't score any runs in this game, and for his sake, I certainly hope that he does. But I thought Shai Shajasan was very harshly treated by the Indian selectors for this particular game. Look, caught down the leg side on debut, and a fighting 30, I suppose, in that first test. And Kurunaya didn't really do that much to impress me in either of these two test matches. But I'm of the opinion when you move someone from number 6 to number 3, you do need to give them multiple games. I think it would be very harsh on Kurunaya if they were to drop him now and bring back Shai Shajasan. I do rate Shai Siddharthan very highly, and I think he needs to be in this team going forward. But for me, Kurunaya gets one more chance. Obviously, Bumrah is going to come back into the side, and it's time for Krishna to go. I don't rate Krishna that highly. Akash Deep certainly took his opportunity in this game, took 10 wickets. He has to play. I would suspect that Mohammed Siraj is going to keep his place in the side as well and maybe have a rest in one of the later test matches. What England decide to do with their bowling attack is going to be very interesting. So they just added Gus Atkinson into their squad for Lords. Obviously, Jofra Archer is now available to play. I think you can only bring in one of these players. I don't think you can bring in both. For me, I would be more likely to take a risk on Gus Atkinson than I would be on Jofra Archer. Jofra Archer hasn't played a lot of Test cricket, obviously. He hasn't played a lot of first-class cricket recently. So I do think it is a bigger risk to take him into this potential Lord's game. We know what Gus Atkinson can do. He'll take the new ball. I would suspect he would play ahead of Cass. I do think there is a role for someone like Josh Tongue in this England side. I know Tongue wasn't at his best in this game, but I thought he bowled much better at Headingley. So I do think he'll get one more opportunity. But yeah, if I was going to be the England selector, I'd be playing one of Atkinson or Jofra Archer, and in this case, I would be going with Gus Atkinson. Chris Woakes has a tremendous record at Lords. I think he's the only person in human history who has a 10 for at Lords and a Test 100. So, his record at Lords, I believe, is under 20 with the ball. So, obviously, he played a lot of Test cricket there, knows how to use the slope very well. So, that would be what I would be doing for the England side. A lot of talk about whether to drop Shoaib Bashir, as I said at the top of the episode. I think you need to stick with the kid. You need to give him an opportunity. If he's in, he's out, it's going to rock his confidence. And we saw what happened with Jack Leach for a number of years. It wasn't until England gave him a consistent opportunity and a consistent go at the top level that he was able to show some worth. And for a young spinner, it would rock his confidence if he was constantly in and out. And I know they're really keen to play Jacob Bethel. Jacob Bethel doesn't actually bowl that much. You'd be relying on Joe Root as your main spinning option. But Shoaib Bashir was still able to take 3 wickets in the first innings for about 150 runs. So I think he's, considering the scores that were hit against the other England bowlers, you do need to stick with the spinner. So obviously Bumrah is going to come back in for Krishna. I wouldn't be expecting any other changes for England. For India, and then for England, I would be saying Gus Atkinson in at the expense of Bryden Cass. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Let me know what was your best performances of this particular test match, and we'll see you for our next episode. Cheers.